Right. We're live here. No, don't know what happened there. San Francisco, believe it or not, bad internet. All right, guys, thank you for joining. Really excited for today to talk about the Hasidic series I just finished on. It's a 13-part series. And wow, it was really a wild ride, and super excited to connect with you guys today, answer any questions you might have. I won't probably be able to get to them all. If you do send a super chat and I miss it, I will get to it at the end of the live stream. Okay, so I want to make sure every super chat gets answered. And yeah, so a lot of people have asked me, so Peter, why did you shoot a series on the Hasidic Jews, or how did you get into it? So the short story is, I was living overseas in Ukraine and doing a lot of global content. Had plans for Israel, Palestine, Syria, and Lebanon this last spring, and then the pandemic happened and travel became very difficult. So my wife and I were thinking of moving to Italy because I'm Italian too. I have an Italian passport. And then we were like, well, what are we going to get for content there? And we moved back to the US. So then I've become very fascinated with the US, living outside of it for 4 years. And I was going to New York, and I posted on my stories, hey, you know, anyone have any interesting ideas in New York City for videos? And Shlomi, as many of you know, Shlomi the legend, reached out and said, hey, do you want to see what the Hasidic world is like? And that's right up my alley. I love subcultures. I love the unknown, and I love the underdog. And that clicked all the boxes, ticked all the boxes. I knew nothing about Hasidim. As I've mentioned before, I knew Unorthodox, the Netflix series, and I knew the guy that cut me off in the airport and who was super rude. And that was it. That was my story of my narrative of Hasidim, and I knew there's much more to it, obviously, but that was my only interaction. So getting into this world through Shlomi, who I call Shlo, by the way. I might say Shlo, that means Shlomi. That's behind the scenes, the nickname for Shlomi. Well, that was an eye-opener, right? And as some of you have seen, we got down the rabbit hole a little bit into all different aspects of Hasidim. Now, this was a 13-part series. Usually I do like, you know, whatever country I'm in, I usually do like 6 or 7, maybe 8. So this was much longer. Some people are like, hey, you got to do more. Do way more of Hasidim. And others are like, hey, Peter, how many times can you shoot this story, get on to something else? I'll never make everyone happy, I understand. But this is it for a long time as far as the Hasidic world goes. And the reason I went so many videos on this is because when you have access to let's just call it what it is. It's very much closed off to the outside world, you know, for a non-Jew. When you have access, you sort of have to make the most of it. And so Shlomi and I made 3 videos. The first time I was in New York, I went back to San Francisco where I live, and then he reached out and he said, hey, Peter, this is doing pretty well. People are really interested. I can get you deeper into the Hasidic world. What do you think? And I was like, yeah, I already did 3 videos. It's probably enough here. And then I thought it through, and I'm like, wow, that's sort of a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'd be an idiot not to take them up on it. So by the end of that day, I actually made my decision, got plane ticket, went back to New York, and then shot, 6 or 7 more videos, something like that. And I try to hit different aspects of it to the best of my ability. And as an outsider, yeah, I can't say I'm any expert by any stretch. If any of you want to ask me deep religious questions, I'm not the go-to guy here. But I am here to answer questions about, you know, what was it like for me? How was the experience? Thoughts of it, all those sorts of things. You can shoot them at me. Now, I just want to let you know, I'm not much of a pro at the live streams. So I got to scroll through and see the comments here. Okay, cool. Gotcha. Cool, a lot of you here. Thank you. Thanks for jumping on. I appreciate it. Okay, Action Kid. Thanks, Action Kid. Peter, super awesome series on the Hasidic community. Watch everyone. But my favorite was Shabbos Dinner. Yeah, that was what a special treat, right? Like being able to get into that. And so I've been told it's almost impossible to do. And the way we had to shoot it was interesting, right? I couldn't put the camera on someone and ask them a question. So it was a little bit maybe awkward looking from watching the video, but that's how we had to do it. That's how the rabbis approved it. Yeah, and I think it touched a lot of people, the Shabbos video, because I think it's something deeper. I think it's something we all want right now, especially with this last year, this pandemic, all the politics going on, being separate from people. And that was a window into, an environment where no one was scared about COVID, since they all had COVID. And there'll be a few people, oh, you can get COVID twice, Yes, you can, but it's very, very rare. So the fear is completely removed on that front. Then you have a family that's together, that's very tight knit, and they had a couple friends in there. And so it was just this festive environment that I haven't felt for a long time. And I think that's what people felt too. So yeah, Action Kid. And guys, Action Kid is, if you don't know him, he's got a great YouTube channel. He walks all over New York City, does really like voyeuristic, on the ground, interesting content. Okay, what's next? Well, we're going to get into the Hasidic stuff here, but I'll answer that. What's next? I'm going to do a couple videos in San Francisco here. It's been hard with the pandemic. So we're going to go to LA, but that got canceled. It's difficult to shoot videos there right now. So doing a couple here in San Francisco, and then Miami, Florida. So deep in on Florida, I really want to get into the Cuban community there in other stories. But let's talk about Hasidim first. Ethan, Julian, as a Jew, I found more about Hasidim through your videos than anyone else. Thanks, man. That's interesting. And as you could see, I was a rookie. A lot of you were rookies in this world, just like myself, in that we sort of discovered it together. I didn't go in with a lot of knowledge. And, I did a little bit of research, but I honestly want to bring you guys, the viewers, through the same journey as I'm going through. I didn't want to go in as an expert. So I'm glad that people got something out of it like I did. Okay. Jen, it's inspiring to be more wholesome with my family after watching your episodes. Oh, that's cool. What did I think about the rabbi talking about marriage? A good question. So the rabbi made a lot of sense. I didn't agree with everything he said. I didn't agree with what he said about the self in the individual. I differed with him on that. But a lot of his principles and ways of looking at relationships, I think, make a lot of sense. I'm married now. It took me until 40. I'm 43, so I got married at 42. I might not be the poster child to how to do it right, but I'm happily married now, and I'm in a great relationship. And I, maybe late to the party on as far as grounding down a lot of these principles. But I get what he was saying. I think there was a lot of wisdom that he shared with us. Okay. Thank you, Moshe. And Mobin, thank you. Appreciate the from the UK. That's great. A lot of people from the UK were in on this series. Okay, some more questions. Is there anything I learned? This is from Abby, Keith. Is there anything I learned about the community and wanted to adopt myself? Yes, good question. So Shabbos, like Shabbat, people ask me, you're saying it wrong. Well, Shabbos is either Yiddish or Hebrew. Shabbat is either Yiddish or Hebrew. English, it's Sabbath. There's many names for it. That's something I think we could all use. Now, I understand there's a lot of work behind the scenes. It all looks fun on the video, but there's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of discipline in that. When I have a family, I would like to do something like that. I think a day of just completely removing yourself is like needed almost. I want to get to that. That's something I really learned about the community. There was also a woman that got rid of her smartphone. I can't get there yet because I'm doing all this social media stuff. But I think I respect that. I admire that. There's a lot to be learned with like just looking at the simple things and staying true to yourself. I found a lot of authenticity in the community. The Hasidic world, nobody's faking or pretending anything. I'm sure there are people that have bounced out of it, and I'm sure there are young people that want to be rebellious, and there's all different types. But as a whole, I would say it was refreshing. How about that? I would never have thought I would say that. In these times, especially refreshing. In San Francisco, we're locked down. Not meaning we can't go outside, but like psychologically, people seem to be locked down. Nobody's smiling. Nobody's looking at each other. Everyone's in a heightened state of fear. And going into the Hasidic world was like, this is nice. This is relaxed. And how about that, right? How about that for irony? I'm in the so far most progressive, forward. I'm definitely using these air quotes because I don't think it is right now. Forward-thinking places in the Western world. And to feel free and relaxed, I go to the so-called most conservative and repressed, quote, part of the country, the Hasidic world. So those things have totally flipped on themselves. Well, there's a ton I could answer out of that one for sure. I could talk for hours on what I learned there. How Chris K asks, how has it influenced me, how I'd raise my children in the future? I think structure. The older I get, I realize this is more important. Just the structure that Hasidim has, I think, is very important, and I think kids need it, and I think the way society is pushing, this is sort of a blanket statement, but a little bit away from that structure, I don't think is healthy. So the Hasidic world has that nailed down. Okay, guys. Okay, I'm clicking on these chats. Okay, David G says, we are non-religious Jews living in New York, but spent a large part of our life in Asia, and we have traveled to tons of countries in the world. We watch every step on our couch with my wife, son, and parents. Okay, thank you, David. No question there, but thank you. And there's a good point there. David is in Asia, traveled a lot, and people from all over the world are very interested in the Hasidic world. I think, whatever's not known, whatever's somewhat behind closed doors or secretive is always interesting. And it's been perceived a certain way to the outside world. And so there's two things going here. I think I have to answer this a lot. Peter, do you know that people have left the community and they're unhappy and there's all sorts of bad stuff that happens? Yes, of course. This is humanity, right? And it's not for everyone. I will straight up say that strict of a structure is not for everyone. And everyone, I'm not going to speak for anyone. What I was trying to do is show what I saw. I'm obviously not going to go into someone's terrible history and make this terrible story about Hasidim. I feel like 99% of the content out there is negative about it. So I'm like, okay, can I shine some light in a different way here? But I do want to repeat, there's all types of stories that exist in the community. Just because I posted this is a very happy family doesn't mean every family is happy. There are families that aren't, and that's the same for what am I? I'm a WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Tell me there aren't broken families and messed up stuff in that large community. So yeah, it's uniform across humanity. There are going to be good stories and bad stories. I forget what the question was, but I'll move on to the next one. Okay, smile, it's simple. Yeah, that's, thank you, I appreciate it. And that's a great message right now that we all need. It's, look, I think like all of you, I don't know, I've been going down some rabbit holes a little bit lately when I'm not working, and it's just, the world seems so just depressing in a way, right? And this has been my antidote to not say lose it, but just going down a negative spiral. So my antidote has been to get into these communities like the Hasidic world or different communities in a positive aspect. And so it helps my psychology. And by doing so, I hope it helps people that are watching their psychology is like a little bit of relief from everything else, from most things that are online right now. Tiz VB, what organization blew me away the most? I liked Chaverim. For those that don't know, Chaverim is like It's like an ambulance slash triple. No, Chavera is an ambulance. Chavera is like, you know, grandma has problems with her plumbing. You break down on the side of the road. All sorts of little things. They come out and help. And I just love that. That was a beautiful aspect of the community, is how there are all these things for the community, which means there's structure and there's safety nets to some degree. I felt like, I'm sure there are outcasts. Again, I'm going to preface all this stuff by I'm speaking in generalities. There are outcasts, but overall I felt not many people are slipping through the cracks. If I go downtown here in San Francisco, a lot of people are slipping through the cracks really hard. So, you know, organizations like that really impressed me. And they have different security organizations. They have an ambulance. I'm forgetting the name of it. An ambulance organization like that. But pretty much everything's covered. Oh, and for the kids with special needs, that sort of stuff. God, I'm forgetting the pronunciation on that. Okay. But yeah, I think you guys know what I mean. If you saw that video, there's like organizations helping kids that have, you know, challenges and, you know, life limiting type stuff, you know, and they're giving them some beauty and hope, you know, despite the circumstances. All right, guys. A lot of great questions here. I'd love to answer all, but I can't. I'll try not to repeat. Okay, Rafi, love your videos, Peter. I'm a Jew living in the UK. Why don't you visit more modern Jewish Orthodox community? Yeah, I should. I really focused on Hasidim. Judaism, I try to mention this in my videos, but unless you show, it's not as powerful. You know, Judaism's like this. For the non-Jews, the Jews know this, but for the non-Jews like myself, it's like you have Sacha Baron Cohen over here. You know, you have the Burning Man crowd, free love, whatever, psychedelic drugs. And you have Hasidim over here, which is what I showed. And I couldn't even get on the conservative Hasidim. That's not happening, right? And even in Hasidim, there's Satmar, which is the most conservative. Good luck on trying to get in on a Satmar Shabbat. Like, good luck on that. I would do it if I could, but I don't think that's going to happen. So even in Hasidim, there's these different ranges within it. And then Judaism's this wide. So Orthodoxy, I from my understanding, is like, let's call it the notch down as far as rules and code that someone needs to live by. It's very conservative, but not as conservative as Hasidim. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I'd love to get into all of it. At this point, this is the last of my my Jewish content for a while. I've you know, I have a world audience. I've given a good window into this world, but I have to. The show must go on. Let's just call it that. Okay, James, thank you. Thank you so much. Meditating in cars without coffee. Interesting name. Did you ask about Kabbalah in the Hasidic community? I didn't. And I didn't go too much. I was trying to sort of, I felt like I would have lost too many non-Jews if I went deep into the religion. I just felt like, you know, unless someone's really interested in religion, I'm going to lose them. What I really focused on was like daily life, how people live, how people look at things. What does it feel like? What does it look like? Okay, thank you, Arinda. You looks like Indian rupees. I think those are rupees. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, guys, so the people that came out in these videos are the real stars, honestly. They took the risk. I'm used to getting abused online or whatever. I mean, it's the internet. This is how things go. These people that came out in all of these videos, A, they're taking the risk in their community. B, they're taking the risk of never really being on camera and being exposed to the world and the internet and what comes with that. Those are the true heroes in all of this. Peter, I'm a Cuban American. If you need any contacts, help in Miami. Yes, I do. Please contact at petersantenello.com and just write Cuba on the top. I would love that. Yes. All right, guys, some more questions. Can us Jews do anything not to be painted in such a bad light in the media? All right, that's a good one. Look, the whole reason I do this is because I got so sick of the media. And the mainstream media, the vast majority, there are a few exceptions, but the vast majority of it seems like journalists within it, and actually the business models, do not care about us. They don't care about the psychology of the world, of America. Their business model is about trauma, using triggering words, creating division, basing everything in fear. It doesn't matter what angle you're coming at it. If you look deep enough into the messages, usually everything's grounded in fear, not love, not connectivity, not making the country or the world a better place. And I'm not one of these people that thinks, oh, if we, there'll be full peace and no wars ever on this planet. I don't agree with that. That's just not going to happen in the human species, in my opinion. But the mainstream, it's just disgusting. It's gotten to a point of being disgusting. Honestly, these people will be judged very poorly by the history books. Just like other people in the past, things that were okay. But society has moved on and passed through whatever it might be, and they're judged poorly. I really think the mainstream media and the journalists of today, in like 100 years, they'll be looking back on these people and like, wow, that was a savage group of people. They were pitting society against each other for money and trying to make them hate each other. And the more they could do that, the more money they can make, the better their business did, the more praise they got at work because they had more likes or followers or whatever it is, right? So think of these journalists that, the real myopic ones that just go in one way negatively in a story and get rewarded for that at work, in society, I guess, because they become more famous. It's disgusting stuff. So back to your question, what can Jews do to paint a better image? I think just being friendly to people. I think that's just an easy step you can do on your own, right? Like what I felt about Hasidim from the outside, I'm like, these are people that think they're better than me, and they don't say hi back. Guy cut me in line. They want to have nothing to do with the outside world. There's some truth to that. They have to stay strong. There are historical context behind the reason why they're very strong and tight knit. Like, this is super important for their survival. It's been that way for their survival in Europe and probably to some degree in the States. And I get that. And do you want to put a bunch of technology in your life when your religion is somewhat against technology? It's hard, it's tricky. But I think just being nice to people that aren't Hasidic or Jewish could be a first step. Because it's really hard to hate, be all down on someone when you have a good experience with them. Just, the politeness of America, oh, I hope it comes back. It seems like I haven't gone in a storefront door here other than the grocery store because they're all closed in San Francisco. But, holding a door for someone, that basic stuff, I think goes a long way. All right, guys, another question. Thank you for all the positive words here, guys, in the super chats, for firing me up. I love it. Mubin, my fiance is also Ukrainian. I'm British Pakistani. I love your Pakistani stuff and Hasidim journey. Have you spent time with Muslims? Differences? Would you love to meet? We'd love to meet you someday. Love your work. Okay, so the Islamic world has. I've done a lot I've gone to a lot of Muslim countries. I did a whole series on Iran. I did one on Pakistan. I did one on Saudi Arabia. I was planning this spring to go to, I was going to go to Israel, but then Palestine, Syria, which I've been to before, and Lebanon. Yeah, that's definitely a focus point. And I want to, Mubin, I want to go deep in on Islam in America. So Dearborn, Michigan, for example, I think that's the biggest community. That's a deep dive I want to go in on. I think it's another community that not many people know about, and it's misrepresented in the mainstream. Yeah, good question. All right. Okay, another question here. Have you noticed any rise in New York when it comes to anti-Semitism? I haven't, because I'm not Jew. So people told me there was a rise in like anti-Semitic crime. Which group are you heading next? RW. Yeah, I've had to iterate because this travel content's a little difficult these days, as you might imagine. And so I'm going to be doing a couple things on San Francisco and more about, I'm actually going to do a video. Mostly my content is about connecting really closely with a group or people, but there's some things I feel like I have to get out. One about the news media. I'm going to talk about moving back to America after being gone for 4 years and what I love about it. Believe it or not, there are many things I love about it despite these crazy times. And then I'll have another video of like the things I dislike about America after living abroad for 4 years. So these are sort of filler videos between, which I think they'll be interesting, good, but between the next community. And the Cuban community really interests me in Miami. I've been to Cuba, and I know there are a lot of Cubans there. So I need to get those stories. If any Cubans are out there, contact at petersantenello.com. Just put it in the title, Cuba, and I'll get back to you. I need some good story ideas. It's all about the people, really. That's why this series worked, is because I had Shlomi, and he brought me in to very interesting people. And that's what makes it. Trailer Park America. Yeah. I'm super interested. I'm super interested in getting into, say, the forgotten part of America, Appalachia. I really want to do a deep dive there. I think that's another group of people that have been misrepresented in the mainstream media and been looked down upon. So I want to give some light into that community. I've also heard, I mean, that's a big community, but like deep in, I also heard it's quite closed off. So I need to penetrate, get through the front doors there. Dearborn contact. Yes, please, Emily. Send it to me. Okay. I don't know. It's either Jaime or Chimey. Chaim, right? Would that be it? I think so. Oh, where'd you go? Here you are. As an ex-Chosid, I think it's important to point out that most people that end up leaving the community stay close and connected with their families and friends. I did not know that. Do you hear that, guys? That's an interesting point. I thought if they left, they're ostracized and gone completely. And many are, I think. I think it depends on the family and how strict they are. But I did not know that. Very good point. Thank you. Shout out to Shlomi. Yeah, Shlomi's the man. Who doesn't love that? I mean, he's the best ambassador for the religion, I find. Like, how can you do any better than him? Shlomi was fantastic. Without Shlomi, it just, if I'd sort of more of a boring person bringing me into this place, the videos would have been much less interesting. He was amazing. Okay, Beverly, extreme poverty, abuse, secrecy, and rituals, Appalachia people. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't spent any time there. It's a part of the country I don't know anything about, really. And that's another point, guys, is most Americans don't know anything about America, and most foreigners know nothing about America, and most Americans know nothing about America. For example, this last series about Hasidim, like, who knew that? I didn't. Most people didn't. And so there are all these subgroups. I think that's what makes the country so interesting and cool. And it's a point that's being overlooked these days, but that's really a beautiful thing. And so I want to get into as many as I can. Okay. Clubbed. I think clubbed 4. Thank you, Peter. My people want you to be our new PR firm. You can spend the next 10 years visiting and sharing communities in an honest and meaningful way and earn a great living. Yeah, I'm not monogamous with cultures, and I'm saying this in a jokingly way, obviously, not a sexual way, but with cultures or countries. I really I'm just overall curious, and I want to know what places and people are like, usually I take something from that and apply it to my life, and I learn something. So in a way, it's a bit selfish. It's like, I want to learn. And if I can bring people along for the ride like you guys, then and I can create a life out of it, then it's like, it's amazing. And I finally got to this place at 43. It took me a long time to get here. I've done all sorts of jobs I didn't want to do. But now I'm doing what I feel like I need to be doing. So I can't stick with one community to the end. But thank you. Okay, Helman Khan, we Pashtun Afghans are a lost tribe of Israel. Huh, thanks for taking us closer to the community. Didn't know that. For those that don't know the Pashtun people, I went in Pakistan, where they're all Pashtuns, and is pretty much the front line of invading armies into India. And these people, since they've been through so many wars, they're very, like if you're on their bad side, good luck. They're fighters, but they're also lovers. So if you're on their good side, it's like the most hospitable type of place. I love the Pashtuns. Thanks, Helman. Do Colombian communities. Yes, I've been to Colombia. Colombia is great. If there's a Colombian community in Miami, please let me know. Contact at petersantenello.com. Okay, I touched on this a little bit, but what strikes you the most about Sabbath as a non-Jew? I like, the older I get, I'm realizing how important ritual is. I used to almost be anti-Christmas. It's like, oh, do the same thing every year. That's silly. And now I'm seeing how important these celebrations and rituals are. So I liked when, they brought in the light. Before they're taking the light in, and the discipline of not touching lights, and just all these little details that I think, while it might look not silly, but you might ask, why would you even bother doing that? I think when you add them all up and at the end, it's an addition in life, not a subtraction. I think it's having a reset every week makes sense. Unfortunately, I'm not doing that. It's like, I feel like I gotta keep the machine going, and I got all these stories I gotta do, and I'm doing this all alone. So I would like to get to that reset mode. I think we could all use it. Will I become Jewish? No, I won't. Nothing against Judaism. I don't want to change religions. Will I go to Russia? I was supposed to be in Russia last summer. Yes, Russia is high on the list. Russia is another one of these misunderstood lands. It's massive. It's 11 time zones. It's got all sorts of different people in it. And Moscow and the Far East are two different universes, from my understanding. So, yes. Okay, Daryl, Cuban community. Say hello to my little friend. Say hello to my little friend. I don't understand that one, but I will. Hello, little friend. Okay. A lot of Sabbath questions. I think I covered those. Yossi, thank you. I appreciate it. And people are like, thank you for showing an unbiased side. And honestly, I didn't do anything. I walked in and asked questions. Why are we in a world where we have to be I'm trying not to swear, okay? Because I got kids watching now. So I'm really trying to make sure my language is always pure, because I got some like 7-year-olds watching this channel, which is cool. Why are we in a world where we have to knock down others? I don't understand that. So what, somebody doesn't believe what I believe or think exactly how I think. It's just such a narcissistic way of looking at humanity. Like, oh, you don't agree with me 100%, so you're less than me. It's insanity. That's like, so when a journalist goes into the Hasidic world, say he gets invited in, and he only goes to knock it down, that's like a troubled person. Now, if there's a bad story and they're going in on this specific story as that angle, I get it. And we do need journalists to do that. Like, that's an important part of journalism, is to cover all angles. And I'm not a journalist. I don't claim to be a journalist. We do need that. But what's wrong with people? Like, why do I got to go into some religion and tell them they're doing it all wrong? Who am I? What do I know? Honestly, I've been on the planet 43 years. I have my beliefs, and they change too. I think when you're growing, oh, that might cause a conflict actually, because if you're a very religious person, your beliefs don't change because there's basically a map. There's a rule book to live by, and I can respect that. But for me personally, you know, in 5 years, I'll be saying a lot of different things. I think my core principles and fundamentals will be the same, but I will learn something on the journey. And I might go back and say, oh, that Peter, when he was 43, he didn't know what he was talking about with whatever. And so why we have to live in a world where people go into the other and just talk poorly? I don't know. It's disgusting. I'm sick of it. I think people are on this channel because they're sick of it too. And I try my best. I'm not perfect. I try to give it balance. I try to, you know, I'm sure I do mess up. I'm 100% sure I do mess up sometimes. But that's my promise to you guys. If you stay on this channel, is like, I want to get into these people, like let people talk. And this is the crazy thing. You can get like, if somebody talks and I don't tell them they're wrong, then it must be I agree with them. This is how this is perceived sometimes in this world. That's not the truth. It's like, let them talk, learn from them, agree, disagree, but let people know where they're coming from. Because if you don't let them talk, you'll never know where their mind space is and like why they are doing a certain thing or why they do think a certain way. You have to like, my job is to open up people in front of the camera, make them feel as relaxed as possible. It's why I use a GoPro. It's tiny. It doesn't look serious. You know, if I had a big camera, people clam up more. So that's my job, is to get people to talk. And then you, the audience, you make your opinion, however you want. Is there anything we can do to help you get a reset every week? X amount of Patreons. Oh, thank you. The Shama, that's very sweet of you. Well, look, I figured out YouTube. You have to post once a week. Like it pumps the algorithm, and it's good for audience too. I've really realized when I started YouTube, I didn't know what I was doing at all. And I was posting once every couple months and stuff. That goes nowhere. So yeah, I think I just got to get better, more efficient, maybe. But thank you. That's very sweet of you. Yeah, Patreons help. I mean, all the support I've received helps. I'm finally making a living off all of this, which is a huge overcoming. For a while, I was running another business and doing this. So I was stuck between two worlds. And then I sold that business. It gave me a runway. It was like a total, like, Hail Mary, if you know football. Like, I threw the ball up there, and hopefully it lands because the money's going down. And is this YouTube thing going to go anywhere? I have no idea. And now I have the confidence it is, and it can. So you can't really do, I mean, just your support, watching, Patreon, whatever you want. I don't expect anything from anyone. Just having you here is a lot. Thank you. Okay, when am I planning to come to Israel? That was a springtime trip I had planned, and then COVID. So I don't know when it's good again to go. I don't want to go in the middle of summer. It's so hot. Potentially the fall. Potentially the fall. Okay, did I know about the Noahide laws? I don't know about the Noahide laws. See, I can show you my ignorance to a lot of this stuff. I'm no specialist in Hasidim. I don't know the Noahide laws. I'm sure I sound like an idiot saying that, but please let me know. Do Jews want to distance themselves from Americans, or do they want to connect better with the rest of us? Ron asked this. I have Jewish friends here that almost keep their Judaism undercover, meaning they don't, like someone wouldn't know they're Jewish unless they knew them well. There are some people like that. And then there's the Hasidic world. By the way they dress, you can tell they're Jewish. So it's complicated. I think some people are open to the others, let's say, and some aren't. Just depends. Okay, Carrie King, are you thinking of going to some more controversial countries in Africa, Sudan, Chad, or Venezuela? Yeah, the world is open for me. I'm not going to put myself in like direct danger for content. There are better people for that are, you know, probably not married and younger that will do a lot of risk. I'm not. So if a situation, I have a risk tolerance, I'll go into a place. But if like the DRC, for example, I don't think that would be smart to go shoot video in right now. I don't know. I haven't researched it, but Sudan, I think, is definitely a go. Chad, I don't know anything about. Venezuela, depends. If I had a really good contact, I think I would need that there. So yes, but no. Not going into a war zone. You know, some people think what I do is very risky. Others think it's not risky at all. It depends your risk tolerance. Okay, can I do a series on Muslims in New York? I'm not in New York for a little bit. I would like to, though. I do want to go deep on the Muslim content. And you know what's interesting is, you know, some people are going to like this and some people aren't, but wow, what a lot of similarities between the Hasidics and people practicing Islam seriously. Like a lot of similarities. Obviously, everything comes from the Torah originally, right? And now the books have changed. The religions, the Abrahamic religions are all different, but the foundation's in the Torah. So a lot of similarities. How about the COVID vaccine? That's a tough one. My mom's going to take it, which I think she should. I'm no expert on this. I haven't done a deep enough dive. For me personally, I'll wait. Okay, Belarus. Someone asking, it was so dangerous when I was in Belarus. When I was in Belarus a summer and a half ago, it wasn't dangerous at all. It was totally safe. Now, well, last summer, I don't think it was. Well, I know it wasn't in a good place. I don't know what it's like right now. Passing down values. Okay, Yvonne, what did I learn about passing down values to the next generation? I'm guessing you're referring to Hasidim. Well, there are a lot of rituals, and those obviously get passed down. I think the biggest threat to all of us really is technology, right? And how do you, like it was said many times, it can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. So we can do this in the series. We could, you know, exchange ideas and teach each other, and that's the beauty of it, but it's addictive stuff. How do you make it not addictive? Because it's designed to be addictive. It's designed to like take our time. And so Hasidim is almost the opposite end of that. It needs to be away from that. But then it's touching on that. It's complicated. And what I could see, little light failure. What I could see is the technology is, it's, for some people, it's not a clear black and white. Even in Hasidim, some people are using it a lot, some people aren't using it at all. So it's almost like who you talk to. And let's not forget, humans are humans. I was a rebellious kid. There are rebellious kids in every community. I remember being in Saudi Arabia and some people talking about not drinking alcohol. And then I remember seeing a couple that it was like 10 in the morning, or no, maybe 7 or 8 in the morning. And they were in their car drunk from the night before. And they were practicing Muslims. And if you asked them on the surface, you know, their dedication to Islam, it was very strong. But at the end of the day, they're doing other things. It's in every community. So it's easier to give like specific labels and like, this is black and white, but the reality is it's not at all. I try to capture that. Moshe, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm not a effing racist. Okay, good. Don't be. Racist people suck. What do I think of the synagogue? I went into one synagogue. It was cool. I didn't spend much time in there. It was like right near the metro tracks, the subway tracks. So it was super loud in there when the train went by. But it had a feel to it. It had a very deep feel to it. All right, guys, a few more questions. What are we coming up? We'll go at least an hour, I'll say, and then I'll answer a few more here. When are you going back to Pakistan? Not sure. I would love to. This is one of those misunderstood countries in the West, at least, and a beautiful one on many levels. So I have to cover more there. Okay, Jay Joka says, what would you say makes Hasidim stand out different from other cultures that are more reserved, such as Amish or monks, etc.? I don't know the Amish. I need to get into that community. That's like high on the list. Monks, I did live in Thailand. I was introduced to well, it depends what type of monk. I'm sorry, monks. Everything's the same and everything's different. How about that? Like a lot of similar structures of discipline, but a lot of differences in behavior, let's say. The way they approach people in the world. That's a deep dive, though. Basically, I did some double speak and it didn't make any sense. But that's a whole topic to talk about. Faivel, thank you. How is kosher food? I don't know. It tastes like the food was good, but when it's kosher, it's not kosher. How do you tell the difference? Like, it's been blessed, obviously, but as far as the taste, I don't know. I had good food, though. Jehovah's Witness community. Yeah, that would be interesting. I know nothing about it. Okay, a lot coming through. I'm trying not to repeat questions. How well of grip do you think you really got? Okay, how Hasidish Brooklyn. Okay. How well of a grip do you think you really got in the community? Do you think you might have been shown a censored view of the community, a view that looks good on camera? Okay, so how well do I know it? I mean, how well can anyone know it after, say, a week and a half of anything? So not that well. What I do know is, it sounds cheesy, but humanity and connecting with people and talking. I know how to converse with people, listen to people. So the people I met were fantastic. Okay, I don't think it was like some North Korean prearranged look at the best of our community and, like, you know, put everything behind the closed doors type experience. I think who I saw was representative of a lot of people in the community. Now, Shlomi, is he going to bring me into the person that's suffering and living a terrible life to expose his community to the world? Of course not, because that's what most people have seen. So I know it's not a balanced story. I didn't go into a great family, let's just say, if I could, a family that's really healthy and functioning well, their Shabbat dinner, and then go into a family that's completely dysfunctional with all sorts of problems and shoot their Shabbat dinner. That would be the most balanced view. But then you have to say what percentage is healthy versus which is unhealthy, how do you even determine that? So censored, I wouldn't say censored in the true definition. I think whenever you're trying to show something off, like if someone, I can look at the flaws of America, but overall I'm going to be an optimistic. If I'm abroad and someone asks me about America, I'm going to not do it in a nationalistic way, like I'm better than you, but I'll do it in a patriotic way, saying these are the attributes. This is what I think is great about the country. Here's some of the things that aren't as great, but I'm going to be heavier on the great. And so I think that's just human when someone wants to show you off whatever it is. So is it the most balanced series? No, not at all. And I try to mention that. I try to mention a few times, I was probably repetitive, like there's a story in this building and someone's living a good life and someone's not, and you have to understand that when you're shooting. That's the power of the edit. Like people that don't make videos, I could even make the most positive thing. I could make that Shabbat dinner look terrible. I mean, that would be hard, actually. They were so happy and having such a good time. But I could use narration. I could shoot it in a weird way and even make a negative out of that. So it's really the power of the creator. And so an objective And keep that in mind. My objective is to show countries that have been poorly received in the world, or looked down upon because of media or whatever, or people or ethnicities not many people know about, and bring out the good. So that's what I can add to the world. It would honestly, I'd be a much more popular channel if I just went in and destroyed things and looked at the worst of this and that. That's honestly what triggers people and sells the best, let's say. But my angle is, I got so sick of, I went around the world when I was 24 to 26. I worked 2 jobs for 2 years to save the money, and we never traveled growing up, and I wanted to see the world. I went around 50 countries and came home, and people were asking me where I liked, and I was saying things like places like the Republic of Georgia, and they're like, in a negative way, why would you go there? Why? What's the point of going there? And I said, no, the food, the people, the landscape. Yeah, I get it. Politically, it's a basket case of a country, and so I realized at that point in time, the only exposure most people have to most places is negative. So I wanted to give a different angle on that, and through the human element, not through the political one. So that's where I come from. What's CNN and Fox going to come at you with? They're going to hit a specific angle, and it's going to evoke a reaction, most likely negative. I look at all the mainstream news just to see what's being reported, how it's being reported, and what's not being reported. That's the most interesting, like what people are just not reporting because it doesn't fit their narrative or agenda. Everyone has an agenda. I have an agenda. You have an agenda. If you're Hasidic and you've been looked down upon by the outside world, you have an agenda to say, hey, no, guys, it's not all like what you were told. Okay, there's some cool stuff going on here. So I want to be as transparent as possible with you guys on that. And if I'm ever slipping, please, I really focus on being as authentic and true as I can, and as non-judgmental as I can. That's my goal in every video I do. Okay, Liza, really enjoyed the series, as I do with all of your series. Thank you. Would you consider doing something slightly different and check out the world of normal Trump supporters to contrast how they portrayed in the media? Yeah, that annoys me. I have a lot of family members that voted for Trump, and they're really good people, and I understand why they did, and I understand why a lot of people did. I understand why people voted each way. I didn't even vote because I was so pissed off with the options, and that's my decision and my choice and my right. And I think you're right. Like I have to do it in a way where I don't get like totally political, because the second you do that, the content silos up into a group. So I have to do it in a way where it's through a human story of some sort, not just directly saying it. Whenever you directly say something, like if I just said, hey, the Hasidic people are great and they're amazing, and just made this, just briefly told you how to think, you'd say, yeah, whatever, guy. But if I can show you something, and if I can humanize something and make it a personal connection, an emotional connection, that to me has the most power against the other forces that we're dealing with. So yeah, I want to show that for sure. I got to do it in the right way, though. I know the Cuban Americans, I think, mostly voted Trump. And so why is that? And why aren't people curious? Why don't you want to know? I'm not saying you guys, but I'm just saying in general, like, why did they do that? Why would they? And I think that's where we need to get at as a society, is be like, so where's somebody coming from mentally and from their experiences, which leads to this action, and why are they doing that? And that's where we're failing in society, is like not asking like why sorry to scare you. Like why? So why would you do that? Like, let them open. I'm gonna try. All right. Excited to see series on Cuba. Thank you, Ashley. I don't have it yet. That's a lot of the stress. Believe it or not, it all looks fun on camera, but this is my life. This is what consumes me pretty much all waking hours. And I don't have any stories yet. And I got to make 2 videos, edit 2 videos. And I'm like, just some things didn't work out in the schedule. And like, a lot of this is luck, really. And a lot of me might just be going to Miami and like just walking around and talking to some people. And then I find a really interesting people. And then I'm like, hey, if I come back, can we talk about this on camera? And it might be something like that. It might be something completely spontaneous that I get lucky with. And that's the content that's usually the most interesting, is like the spontaneous stuff. People want like this real connectivity, I think. That's what I want when I watch stuff. So yeah, you just stress me out in a good way. I'm like, yeah, I got to nail it. Because every series I go into, I'm like, I'm nervous. Like I won't get the content. It won't be interesting enough. And then what? You know, so yeah, I really do want to hit Cuba, America well. Okay, Rivka, I appreciate the courageous, positive representation. You are so respectful. I believe your viewers gain a respectful God, I can read perspective from your work. Thank you, Rivka. Like we all want to be respected. That's just, I want to be respected. So if I disrespect, then I'm not going to get respect. So it's pretty simple, right? I don't know why these are big things, to be honest. They should be fundamentals like air and water and food. Eric's Electric Empire. Hi, Peter. Love your content, especially your new series. By the way, as a Cuban, most voted for Trump because of communism and fear. Interesting. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard that to some degree. So, Eric, if you have any good stories, Cuban stories in Miami, contact at petersantenello.com. Contact at petersantenello.com. So that's where Cubans are coming at it from. They left a system where, this is from my understanding and my time spending, in Cuba. They left a system where most people could not realize themselves who they wanted to be in this world. And the state made a lot of the decision making. And basic things were harder to obtain, material things, let's say. And if it's communist, I'm understanding religion was probably suppressed pretty low. So there's no perfect system. I could see beauty, despite that angle, I could see beauty in Cuba. I felt that people were more connected. And maybe because that was a lower socioeconomic status, people needed each other more, perhaps. But I would love to get into that. Really would. I loved your country. Cuba was the Cuban people, like not the Cuban government, but the Cuban people were fantastic. A lot to be learned from you guys, for sure. Peter, please visit Palestine. They're struggling in an apartheid system. Okay. And I'm not saying, okay, like, no, I just don't want to go down the political rabbit hole right now because I just know what that turns into. They're beautiful. Yes, I've been to Palestine. I went to Ramallah. I think it was Ramallah. I went to parts of the West Bank and Ramallah. I met great people. I met great people on both sides. Yeah, that's the most complex situation, right? And I want to cover both sides equally and fairly, and try not to go into the politics that runs it, but that's pretty much impossible in that part of the world, I think. But I really do want to go, I'm going to show this Israeli side of things, and I'm going to show this Palestinian side, and you take it for whatever it is. The coolest thing I ever saw about Israel and Palestine was this documentary called Promises. It was a long time ago, but from what I remember, it was like, I don't know, 5 or 10 kids that were Jewish and 5 or 10 that were Palestinian. And it was a beautiful documentary. It showed them from like when they were really young and how they grew up through life and their relationship, because they were very close in the beginning as kids. Because kids are kids. They don't see any of this stuff. They don't care about politics. And really an interesting one. Promises. I got to rewatch it. Plenty of Palestine. All right, guys, a couple more questions and I'm going to bounce. Let me see if I've hit all these super chats. I think I did. If I didn't, I'm trying my best here. I'm trying to scroll through. I think I got all those. It's what I'm seeing on my end, at least. And if I didn't answer your super chat, it's not because I'm avoiding it. I'm just scrolling through, and I think I answered all the ones I've seen, and I'll give you a direct message at contact@Peter Santenello if I miss it, because I'm trying not to miss it. I was wondering if you're aware that the majority of Orthodox Jews are not Hasidic. Yes, I know this. Hasidic, from the outside, I think there's a couple things. It's the most, just the word Hasidic in English to me sounds like tough, like Ukraine. Just the word, how it sounds in English is like Ukraine. It's like, whoa. And Hasidic has always been like used with, say, the extreme or the outcast or the censored or the repressed or whatever. And so I really wanted to focus just on that. And I understand there's so many levels of Judaism. Okay, a couple more questions. Thank you, M. Shoer. Appreciate it. Thank you. Do you think tolerance, this is a good question, Leah. Do you think tolerance needs to be taught or it should be instinctual? I think it needs to be taught. I think number one in our education system should be critical thinking skills. That should be the number one thing to be taught, because we're getting so much information and everything's coming at us with an angle or an agenda, and to be able to think critically. And so interesting coming back to America this time and hearing, about how America is so racist. And I've been out of the country for 4 years. I'm thinking through this and I'm like, of all the places I've traveled to, America is actually one of the least racist places. Now, hear me out, as many of you might have dealt with racism in your life. Racism exists everywhere, that's for sure. America is one of the few countries in the world where all the animals from the zoo are in the same cage, and they sort of get along, actually. Like, I deal with people from all different backgrounds every day. Even during the pandemic time, I'm not dealing with too many people, but in any of these American cities, especially New York, you're like talking to this guy from this background, that person from that background, like, and it mostly works. Like, I love it. It's a beautiful thing. Like, who bagged my, I was at Trader Joe's yesterday, and who was there behind the register? There was a black woman and there was an Asian woman. And there was me and my wife. My wife's from Ukraine. We all have different ethnic backgrounds. And we're all joking and hanging out together and talking. And when I look at a playground in New York, sometimes they're segregated. Like, people are tribal. It's just how, many humans are. It's in the DNA. But I think America does one of the best jobs of like dismantling a lot of the tribalism, at least down to a level where you can interact every day at a human basic level, which is amazing. What is the question? I forgot. I got on a tangent. So this has been one of the big things where I'm like, yes, there is racism here. Yes, it exists. Yes, Hasidic Jews have definitely been, and Jews in general have dealt with all sorts of racism. You don't need to hear from me that there's no racism. That's lame. But as a whole, as a country, I mean, try being Afghani in Iran. Good luck on that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Like, the law is not going to work for you the same way. And there's so many, try being Uyghur in China. I mean, that's hardcore racism. That's the most disgusting, where they're put in basically camps these days. And yes, it exists here. Yes, any racist people suck. They're the worst. But I do believe we do amazing together overall. And the narrative that we don't is bullshit. Look at all the people that have rose to the top in this country from all different backgrounds. That's the proof in itself. All right, I forgot the question. Couple more. I said that a couple more ago. Thank you, Goldie. I appreciate it. I'm glad you got something out of it. Choni, anything changed after my conversation with the rabbi? Would you meet him again? I answered that earlier. Someone else asked me that. That's a very popular question. And I think the rabbi had a lot of good wisdom. I didn't agree with everything he said, but he did make a lot of sense. Now that I'm married and I'm 100% committed to my relationship, and I see how structure and let's just say some of the old-fashionedness is almost like fresh air. Like I want stability in my relationship. I don't want to, relationships ebb and flow. They're stronger, they're weaker at times. I get it, but there's some basic principles that he said that made a lot of sense. So I would talk to him again. Yeah, sure. Do I think I'll do more vlogs with Shlomi down the road? Yeah, why not? He's great. He's informative, well-spoken, charismatic, great on camera. Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate it. Florida Kosher Villas. Thank you. Appreciate it. Muslim American series. I'm repeating now. Yes, for sure. That's one of the top ones. I want to get into the Native Americans. I want to get into the Inuits up in way north. How do they look at America? I want to get into some far fringes of society, because that's what America is. It's many fringes. It's not just LA, New York, Chicago, Miami, San Francisco. America is a massive, massive place. And here's a crazy thing. I love America more than I've ever loved it before, despite all the shit we're dealing with. Oh, excuse my language. Despite all the problems we're dealing with, after living abroad and traveling, 90 plus countries and living in 4 countries, there's no perfect place for everyone. What works for me isn't going to work for someone else. But as far as what I value and my personality type, I very much love this place, and I hope we get through this insane time we're in. I think we will, but there's a lot of good here that's being overlooked right now. And the media definitely doesn't care about helping us along. That's for sure. Shlomi is also watching. Hey, Shlomi. Who doesn't love Shlomi? He's like the most I don't think he could ever have an enemy. And this guy, in Shlomi, for those that don't know, watch his channel in his series. I mean, think I have courage going to Saudi Arabia or Iran. Shlomi's going in as a Hasidic Jew to Saudi Arabia. I mean, just that on paper alone sounds high risk. And he's coming out with these amazing experiences. And he shows that on his channel. And I think Shlomi has a big part in the Jewish community. He's really the star here, because without Shlomi, I wouldn't have gotten any of this stuff. Impossible, not happening. Like a knock on someone's door. Can I come to your Shabbat dinner? I'm just going to bring my camera and make a video, about it for YouTube. Okay. Nobody's going to say, come on in. It's only because Shlomi, I got in all these places, and he gets it. He's very true to his religion. He's Hasidic, obviously, but he gets the outside world. He gets many countries. He's traveled a lot. So he's the perfect bridge, because he knows how to explain and say, dumb it down to a person like me who doesn't know much about his religion, and say it in simple terms and really create that bridge. So yes, I hope to do something with Shlomi in the future. And Shlomi's got big things. Shlomi, you gotta go on this thing with the YouTube. You gotta go regular. You're a busy man. You are posting, but I really think you have like a lot to give the world. Like, really can almost change the way people view your religion. So Shlomi's the man. Okay. What is it? 109. I'm going to go till 115. How about that? It's 5.5 more minutes. Then we'll call it good. Can you also go into the Palestine part of Israel? Love to. Interesting. I think, I've been to Israel and Palestine before. As a tourist, you really don't know anything ever. And that's just super complex and so many layers going on there. So I'd like to get at least, you know, peel back the onion a little bit in my content. Okay, Miss GI or GL. This series has been such a comfort to me. I appreciate what you do a lot. What you have done has opened a lot of people's eyes to understanding some customs. Thank you. And Shlomi. Thank you, Miss GL. Look, we're all dying for this right now. I think I'm doing it honestly because it fills a need in me where there just feels like a lack of, if you're not really religious and you don't have all of these customs to cohere to, it's like, what's the purpose right now? It feels like society is like, anything you look at, it's hard to see much purpose in it, at least for me. And I find purpose in this. Is honestly, I don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't doing this now. I would have to find something, because it's just, we're in such weird times, huh? And so if I've been a comfort to you, Miss GI, GL, then thank you. You're a comfort to me. All you guys are a comfort to me, because if nobody cared about this, then I'd honestly think I'd still do it just for my sanity. But it'd be really hard, right? It'd be brutal. So cool. We're in this together. Oh, interesting question. Deborah, what surprised you most about the Hasidic women that you met? The ones that I met were very with it, open, and seemed to be in charge of their lives. Now, I don't know what's behind the scenes. I didn't, there's only so far I can go, but yeah, I was surprised. I thought they would have been much more repressed. And also, one caveat, I'm not, the most religious people are going to be nowhere near me or a camera. That's just how it is. So I'm going to make this point for those that I didn't see the beginning of this. Just in Hasidim, there's Lubavitch. I'd say Lubavitch is on this side, correct me if I'm wrong, someone, and then Hasidic is on this side. Lubavitch and Satmar. Satmar is on this side. I'm not going to be able to dive deep on the Satmar. Shlomi said there's something like 200 sects in Hasidim. So the most conservative, that's a no-go, not happening. So I wasn't talking with those people. I was talking with people that are going to be brave enough to be on a camera. So that should tell you something too. And also want to say, if someone doesn't want to be on camera, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I get it. They're trying to hold on to some principles and some meaning in this world. So it's something we're all sort of craving. So I get it. Thank you, M. Shoer. Okay. All right, guys, 2 more minutes. What else do we got here? How about Korea? South Korea or North Korea? I'd be up for both. Okay. Have I been to Riyadh? Yes, I made a video on Riyadh. My first day in Saudi Arabia. Interesting place. If I could travel back to a period of time, when would it be? You know, I almost look like I feel like I did. Like I traveled before, like early 2000s, before the internet was really there, before you travel with your phone. And I look back with such great nostalgia right now, because things were just so much more raw, and you had to rely more on your intuition and the people you encountered. I couldn't always just get on my phone and get a hotel, that sort of thing. So I live that, but I think That's a good question. I don't know. Anywhere far back, there's many different time periods. I think it would have been interesting. Hi, Peter and Shlomi. I'm trying to convert to Judaism, even if it's difficult, I honestly never think about the journey. Think about Judaism. Cool. Yeah, I think I asked the question on the last video because I wasn't so sure on how you do it, and a lot of people left answers, so you might be able to get some information there. Anything I learned that I would apply to my life? Yes, a lot. There's a lot to be learned from communities that, let's just call them what they are, communities that really help each other and have institutions set up for all things that can go wrong in life. There's something behind that, and that's a beautiful thing. Is this my last video about Jews, Hasidic or not? No, I won't say it's my last. It's my last of this series. I have a global audience. Some people are like, do more of these Hasidic Jewish videos, or do more Jewish videos. Some are like, okay, Peter, you've gone 13 episodes on a topic. You've never gone that deep or long on something. Time to move on. I'm never going to please everyone. So for now, no. Now I'm going to totally break it up. And I hope as the Hasidic, many Hasidic Jewish people have gotten something out of this, because people have looked into their community, because they've been curious. I hope a lot of you, and I'm not just telling you to stay on my channel, but I hope you keep the curiosity towards others too. Like if I go into when I go into the Cuban community or the Muslim community, this is what's going to bridge a lot of the divide, I think. So I can promise you some interesting adventures to come. I live, eat, and breathe this stuff, so getting into the right people in the right worlds is everything. And America has so many of these, and the pandemic moved my wife and I back here. And I really am all about showing American content, and I never thought I would be. I thought, oh, that's my home country, boring, whatever. No, now I'm super fascinated with it. For those that have emailed to me, I'm going through them all and reading as much as I'm reading. I will read everyone. I won't be able to respond to everyone. It's just the sheer volume. I'm super humble and grateful to receive so much, but I honestly can't get back on everything because I'm a one-man band. My wife helps me out a little bit. She's the director. I call it the director. She looks at the final cuts. She says, oh, you look like an idiot here. Oh, this looks cool here. Okay, change this around a little bit. She's a big help. But other than that, it's just me. And I'm pretty much maxed out. I'm probably not the most efficient editor. And yeah, I haven't even read a book. It's killing me. I'm not even reading at all. I have a stack of like 8 books. But I'm just so like immersed and passionate about this work. It takes precedent over everything else. So emails, if I didn't get back to you, please don't take it personally. I just don't have the bandwidth. I wouldn't be able to make videos if I got back to every message. It's not possible right now. Future series, again, I'm going to be doing a couple of things here in San Francisco. I think you guys will find interesting. And then I'm going to Miami. A story that really interests me is the Cuban story there. If you have any good Cuban contacts, contact at petersantenello.com. Just write it in the title, Cuban, Miami. And that's about it, guys. Got a lot more on the horizon, though. This year is going to be a big one. A lot of subgroups in America. And then, as many of you have requested, and as I had planned to do last spring, Israel and Palestine. We could definitely use some humanizing content over there. So thank you all. Stay strong through these crazy times. Be kind to people. Let's stay together and get through this weirdness. I'm in San Francisco, where it's crazy. It's like I'm in a Black Mirror episode. Society is all scared of one another. Most people. I get it. People are very scared about the pandemic. I get it, but you know, it doesn't mean we can't look at each other anymore or say hi at distance with a mask on outside. You know, I just looking forward to get through this. And The Hasidic world felt like an island with a palm tree and a beach compared to this, because it was like, okay, people are smiling and talking and being human. That was very nice. Okay, with that said, all you guys, thank you so much. Love you for caring about this content, and I'm doing my best to show places and people that most people don't know about. So, okay, until the next video, take care.